All right, so we asked for a different episode, and we sure as hell got it here with Creep episode 5, Brandt. Now, I think there will definitely be a decent amount of discussion about this one by found footage fans and found footage enthusiasts, to be specific, because I think there will be arguments on whether or not this is like proper found footage or not. I think that I have that figured out, I think. We'll talk about it for sure, but I could see this upsetting some people.
Yeah.
Because if this is supposed to be traditional, real found footage, right, then this definitely breaks the rules unless you come up with a good explanation, which
Right.
I think we can. I'd have to watch it again to make sure. I'm having a couple things in my head I'm going back and forth on.
Mm.
Um but yeah, so what's happening in this episode for those of you who didn't watch it for some reason? He's waiting for this guy named Brandt to show up, and he's of course offering him $1,000,
Yep.
which is his going rate.
Always 1,000.
And he is also, whilst waiting for Brandt, breaking up with the Peach Fuzz, I guess. He's like, I've become codependent. And, he is completely out of his mind in this episode. And while he usually is, I feel like he's,
Like extra.
yeah.
Yeah, I thought this was a really interesting episode, and I'm glad that we got it, because I think it like really shows how split his psyche is, and I appreciate it. Like but what you were saying in the beginning about people having trouble with the found footage aspect, I also agree with you on that. I think that there are going to be, because I don't know if I can fully explain it. I think that you could try, but it really feels like my best explanation is that it's edited and
Yeah.
that like because that's clearly him in the mask. He's clearly Peach Fuzz,
Yeah.
and that's the only thing I can think is that he just films himself in both like positions, and then he does actually go in and edit it.
So, I mean, there's two possible explanations here. There is that, right? There is the fact that when you look at the footage, so the first time we see Peach Fuzz, he turns around and he's like next to him at the elevator, right? But from what I could tell, it's just the mask. It's high up, but it could be, put onto something, and it doesn't seem to be moving.
mm,
So when he turns around and it's right there, I don't think it's on a person exactly. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying that I'm not sure it is for sure on a person.
mm,
Then when we see him sitting in the bed, there's an obvious split screen between them that allows for the editing process to take place. And when he jumps at him, I think it cuts before it actually touches him. So that would explain that. Now, how he would be able to spray water on himself with his hands tied up, I don't really have an explanation for that, right?
yeah.
The water gets turned on and off. I think that's the one I'm struggling with the most for an explanation. I
Mm,
don't have one unless he's controlling it with his feet,
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
right? But he's the controls for the tub and whatever are over there on his like right or his left, and his feet are in front of him.
Mm,
So I don't see how that's possible. Um, so unless he has something rigged up, right, that sprays water randomly for him, and this is all his movie. Because okay, we got to remember that the creep is a film lover and a
yeah.
filmmaker, and he keeps hiring these wannabe filmmakers to make his own film.
Yeah.
He's making the creep tapes. He wants to make his own movie. And so this could be part of his movie making right here, is we're seeing him put together something.
Yeah.
Now, that brings me into the second possibility, is that he did hire someone else, that either we do see, maybe it's the guy who comes to the door and is
Yeah.
part of the as part of the gag,
Right.
because we don't ever really have any other interaction with people in the other Creep episodes, right?
Yeah.
This is the first random that shows up. It's always like one-on-one. And so for that guy to show up, like coincidentally,
Mm.
and for there then to be a guy who is looking like Peach Fuzz.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think that works, because now that I'm thinking about it, that guy's darker skinned,
Yeah, I don't think
and
it's
the guy
him.
in the bed with him being Peach Fuzz is very clearly the same color. He's white. He's very similarly colored as Mark Duplass is, um, suggesting that it is actually just him.
Yeah.
So
I think
unless he
it's I
has
think it's
another person, right, like
no.
somebody else who is
Yeah.
playing him, that's really, I mean, that is really the only explanation for it to remain found footage, is that he has a co-conspirator that he does this stuff with, and this person was acting like Peach Fuzz for him.
I think it could still be found footage and
Maybe he
it's
has a
just an
twin,
edited. Maybe
because they both talk about their mom,
that would be really
and
weird.
we suckled her
I
together and
know.
stuff.
I took all of
Maybe he
that
has an
as
identical twin.
that would be a crazy thing to reveal. I think it could still be found
Maybe.
footage, as I said, as long as it's just edited footage is all. So it's
Yeah, but how did he
like
spray himself with water?
yeah. I mean that's
I don't.
I don't know. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't have an answer. But I did like this episode. I do think that I'm glad that we kind of broke away from the typical like sameness of all the others. And I really like the ending too. I thought the ending was fun with him being like, we can get it in one shot and
Yeah.
then just hits him with the axe. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good episode, especially if you're like a Peach Fuzz.
Definitely.
If you wanted to see more Peach Fuzz, if you're really into like his relationship with that mask, I mean,
Yeah.
we really explore it in this. So this is like a Peach Fuzz centric episode. In fact, you could probably call this episode more Peach Fuzz than
Yeah.
Brandt. But yeah, I do think that this is the first story, the first episode, or movie in this franchise that has broken the formula
Yeah.
of found footage of the rules. So will we get an explanation in episode 6? Right, we do have one more episode left. Is it possible we actually get this answered? Or is this something we're supposed to speculate on like we are? Does he have a twin? Did he hire a second person? Those are those are really the only options,
Yeah.
if you want it to remain part of being realistic.
Right.
So if they are doing it not realistic, like we're seeing what's in his mind on the camera,
Yeah.
I can't say I like that very much. It's weird too, because sometimes Peach Fuzz has a body and sometimes he doesn't.
I know,
right?
like when he's in the bed, he pulls it
he puts
like
pillows.
the head off.
He puts pillows as a body.
Yeah, which is what makes you think that it's in his head, like that it's not real.
Sure.
I definitely, I don't know. I'm at a loss as far as that goes, but I like that he's like, I ordered PF Chang's Peach Fuzz. Yeah,
I ordered you a very nice meal.
Yeah, an excellent meal or something. I'm really curious to see what the next episodes are like, and if we're gonna get anything more that's like in this style, or if we're just gonna go back to the previous ones.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
He definitely seems to prefer the male variety. We've only had one woman in the franchise thus far.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. And that's the only
I feel
person he let live.
yeah, I feel like part of that is also because most women aren't going to be like accepting
Stupid
jobs for
enough to do this.
strange men and like
Yeah.
yeah, and I think that guys are yeah, definitely more like, "Oh, what could happen to me?"
Yeah, they're more arrogant
So,
about it for sure.
yeah, I think that's fairly realistic.
So what do you guys think? What are your theories? What do what do you got when it comes to how this episode is possible?
Mm,
Do you think it's in his head? Do you think he has a twin brother? Do you think that he hired someone? Do you think something else entirely that we're not thinking of? I don't have any other. I can't think of anything else.
yeah.
So unless I'm completely overlooking something, I really feel like those are your three options.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, there's really only two options. It's either in his head or it's another person. Who
Yeah.
that person is, could it be a twin? Could it be someone he hired? Whatever. Those are basically your only your two options there.
Yeah.
Or I guess I mean, as I said, the like edited thing,
That's what I
it
was gonna
it
say. That's
kind
the
of
third
works if you
option.
really want to just ignore the water,
Yeah, because everything
but
else, I
maybe that's on
mean,
like a timer or something.
that's what
I
I was
mean,
gonna
that's
say.
so it
Like,
could be
he could have
explained.
it like rigged because the closet also opens, and that
Right,
could
right,
be on
sure.
like something. It's possible, right? Like,
Yeah, I
I
mean
think
that's
this
totally
is definitely
possible.
possible.
So that's the third
Um,
option. Yeah, okay.
but
So
what do you guys? Yeah, I'm curious what everybody else thinks. Like, what the explanation would be, or is this just yeah, all in his head, and we're seeing his point of view, and like like really getting like a look at his fractured psyche.
I mean that would be good if there was no one there or if he was just sitting next to the mask,
Mm.
right? But the fact that he does like the hip thrust thing, the circular hip motion while he's on the bed and he's like, "I know what you're doing." That's something that he knows and something that is very specific to him.
Yeah, so like a person hired wouldn't necessarily know that.
Correct. So
Yeah. I think it's him.
it would be wild to find out that he has an identical
That would be really
twin,
crazy.
and in every episode we can do like the scream thing of like who killed who,
That
and
would
like
be
each one,
so crazy.
the first one is the brother, and then
Yeah.
the second one is him.
I don't know. That would be really weird.
It would be,
We'll see
but it's
though.
possible.
It
But we
is.
never see his face,
No,
right?
we
So it's never
don't.
he doesn't take off the mask
Yeah.
and everything.
But
I
it's
mean,
like it's very much his body.
this is what he probably sees in his head.
Yeah.
I agree with that, but we shouldn't be able to see it, obviously.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm conflicted on it because I
Mm.
think it's probably the best episode of this show so far,
Mm.
but it also might not be good because it shouldn't break the rules of found footage,
Yeah. Yeah.
since that's the subgenre that it's within. But then, some people just probably don't care and they're like, I don't give a shit. I
Yeah.
really love the episode. And, at the end of the day, I probably will um, end up there
Hmm.
regardless because I do like the episode. But yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
that's that. One more episode to go. We'll see you next Friday. Adios.
Bye.